How's it going, YouTubers and Instagrammers? I hope everybody's having a great Sunday. And I know what you're thinking. Today is a Monday, Sterling. What are you recording for? Let me tell you. Today is August 1st. And August 1st is not only the beginning of August, obviously, but it's a celebration of a few things. And one of those things is National Spider-Man Day. Happy National Spider-Man Day. Instead of recording it tomorrow, I decided to take advantage of this day and celebrate the wall crawler, celebrate the legacy of the wall crawler by reviewing the next movie in the non-MCU Marvel movie filmography, which is a great coincidence and a perfect timing. So, before I begin, if you are new to my channel on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click that bell to keep up to date with all things SOS. And most importantly, watch it from beginning to end. And if you're watching this on Instagram, don't forget to follow me. If you happen to stumble upon Man on Still, like, share, comment on whatever inspiration or whatever type of impact the wall crawler Spider-Man has made on your life personally, whether you are a comic book fan or a huge movie goer or anywhere in between. You can just let me know how this character has made an impact in your life in some way, form, or fashion. So, about The Amazing Spider-Man from 2012, starring Andrew Garfield, sees him being abandoned by his parents and raised by his Aunt May and Uncle Ben. As we know, teenager Peter Benjamin Parker, aka Spider-Man, is trying to sort out who he is and exactly what his feelings are for his first crush, Gwen Stacy. When Peter finds a mysterious briefcase that was his father's prior to his, he pursues a quest to solve his parents' disappearance. His search takes him to Oscorp in the lab of Dr. Curt Connors, setting him on a collision course with Connors' alter ego, the Lizard. Okay, so here's my take on the story. This unexpected reboot to the Spider-Man trilogy was one of many that I am sure people did not have a problem with. But like many reboots compared to the original, the results would not make the experience as infectious or iconic as the original Sam Raimi picture, fool. The way I see it, director Mark Webb was obviously trying to tell a very different Spider-Man origin story than the one we all know from the comics and the Raimi trilogy. We still have the basic story elements of him being a teenager from Queens who lives with his aunt and uncle, and after getting bitten by a radioactive spider, things start to get weird. But Webb gives Peter's origin story a subtle approach. And when I mean subtle, I seriously mean subtle. Like it's a more slower approach than how Tobey Maguire became Spider-Man. Even if that means being less awe-inspiring and taking slightly longer with his transformation into the hero. Not Spider-Man, the hero. I'll get deeper into that later. Back in my review for 2002 Spider-Man, which I encourage you to watch, I will attach it to the link. I will attach it at the end of this video if you're watching this on YouTube. I praised Sam Raimi for presenting Peter Parker's origin story, and still, what it is today, in this day on August 1st, 2021, the most comic accurate way to this day, from when he gets the powers to when he tests them out on the skyscrapers and in the wrestling ring to when he reaches the antithesis of his hero journey through the great power and great responsibility moment. This whole sequence with him becoming Spider-Man was so straightforward, and the process does not stop for 1 second. And every second matters. Every second that he takes trying to develop into Spider-Man, trying to develop into the amazing hero, is not wasted. Now, with Andrew Garfield, Mark Webb decided to give him connections to Oscorp, which you'll see definitely in the next movie when I explain it, by having his father be a scientist for the industry that works with Curt Connors. Through this connection, we see Peter's transformation into Spider-Man, or at least the hero that New York City deserves. Takes a whole lot longer to fulfill, but the process is equally comedic as it is dramatic. This choice of longevity is simply due to the way Peter Parker here, Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Peter Parker, is written as a character. Garfield's characterization as Parker is written in a way where his identity as Spider-Man should be apprehensively discerned from the concept of a hero. The other elements of the film, like the mystery behind Richard Parker's research and the romance between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy, still interweaves well. So like I said, today is International Spider-Man Day, and this part, when I break down the characters in the character section of this review, is really going to help with this International Spider-Man Day add to this part of the video. We all have our favorite version of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Whether we're talking about Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, my guy Tom Holland, or even though the most recent one that's been around for 10 years, Miles Morales, aka Kid Arachnid, they have each brought something particularly strong to both sides of the character, even if it is a little offbeat in some areas. Like if I could say it, I think Tobey Maguire brings more of the heroism and the inspiration. Andrew Garfield brings more of the swagger and style and the quick-wittedness to the character, and Tom Holland brings the simplicity and the innocence, just in a nutshell. But just like how any fan would be when they are playing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield poured his heart out into this role and made it fun and enjoyable, even when it would not live up to the same level of iconic or inspirational that is Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland. Now, unlike Tobey, Andrew Garfield's Parker is still brilliant but lazy. Brilliant but lazy, like Otto Octavius. However, he is a slacker, an outsider by choice, irresponsible, which is why this transformation takes longer, and yet sports a cool demeanor. I mean, this Peter Parker skateboards. When have you ever seen Peter Parker in the comics use a skateboard? Anyway, his social awkwardness is still relatable, and his irresponsibility only works in the context of relating to the average teenager. You might not be the average geek teenager, but the average rebellious teenager. It can still feel unbalanced at times with his mischaracterized moments as Peter Parker. Garfield starts out his portrayal of Spider-Man as somebody who is having so much fun under the red and blue spandex. He owns such a cunning sense of comedic timing, and everything he does is for the benefit, pleasure, and exhilaration for himself. This goes back to what I was saying to his journey into the hero and not necessarily Spider-Man. He becomes Spider-Man first before he becomes into the hero. Not like, watch what I tell you. This is what makes this iteration a little more distinct than Tobey and not more iconic. The first time he puts on the mask, he becomes Spider-Man. But his first heroic moment comes when he encounters the Lizard for the first time on the Williamsburg Bridge. And from there, he really learns how much weight his great power and great responsibility will carry. Now, one of the best things about rebooting a Spider-Man franchise is what type of new villains you can use that have not been seen before. Obviously, you need to take advantage of that. For any aspiring directors or filmmakers or writers out there who think about trying to make a Spider-Man movie of their own, if they happen to make a Spider-Man reboot in the future, I don't know, I doubt it. Tom Holland should and ought to be the last. You just want to take that into consideration on putting a villain that you have never seen. Especially if the filmmakers had plans for those villains to show up in later in the subsequent series. For example, we were going to have the Vulture show up in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4, but I gave you that story. It was scrapped. And then we were going to get the Sinister Six in Amazing Spider-Man 3, but I'll talk about that in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 review. Enter Curt Connors, a character who was originally going to be built up to become the Lizard in Sam Raimi's Spider-Verse. But in Mark Webb's Tasmverse, he's an associate of Richard Parker at Oscorp, and they have spent years trying to improve the human race through cross-species genetics, thus giving him lizard DNA, trying to grow another arm and become a full-on lizard. There would come a time where Peter cracks the secret equation to unlocking the formula to creating this regenerative formula that his father kept under wraps for a reason, which would lead to the existence of the lizard. And this aspect of attempting to right the wrongs of the creation of Lizard through Peter's equation helps to make up for the slow character arc into a true hero. Nice. Emma Stone's casting as Gwen Stacy is simply uncanny. I'm saying Emma Stone looks just like Gwen Stacy from the comics. The eyes, the lips, and how well the face complements with the blonde bang and hair. Her role as Peter's love interest felt very sudden opposite Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane Watson in the Raimi trilogy. Like, I feel like Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker's attempt to get Kirsten Dunst's MJ to fall in love with him had a little more effort But with Emma Stone, it felt a little effortless. It felt like Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy was trying to come to Peter Parker as opposed to Peter Parker trying to come to Gwen Stacy. But seeing how much Peter means to Gwen Stacy only speaks here in itself when Gwen makes most of the first moves in the movie. Like she says a lot of things that sound caring, like you ought to go to the nurse or you ought to get that checked out. She invited him over to dinner, things of that nature. But it will speak much louder in the sequel with Peter trying to stay close to Gwen. Like I said, the opposite comes around in the sequel, despite the promise he made with her father, Captain George Stacy. Now, for Aunt May and Uncle Ben, I always saw this version of Parker's parental figures as more of a realistic portrayal of an everyday aunt and uncle. Nah, because I thought Rosemary Harris and Cliff Robertson in the original Sam Raimi trilogy looked too old to be a convincing uncle or aunt. But the pair we saw in the very first Spider-Man movie might look more like grandparents, but Cliff Robertson and Rosemary Harris are, respectively, the true Aunt May and Uncle Ben because they look very elderly in the comics, therefore you would cast very elderly people to play those aunt and uncle. Rotten Tomatoes gives The Amazing Spider-Man a 72% score. 72% of all critics recommend The Amazing Spider-Man. It might present a less visually refined aesthetic and a darker tone, but Mark Webb delivers a deeper premise on the Spider-Man mythology that helps to complement the way the titular hero is characterized, while also providing a spectacular appeal through Garfield's fun and hilarious performance alongside the rest of his fellow cast members. So I will give it an 80. I'll give Amazing Spider-Man a B out of 10. But that is my review on The Amazing Spider-Man, courtesy of these three guys right here. For International Spider-Man Day, I just want to say that to you guys. Happy International Spider-Man Day. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, thank you for developing a character that has spent 59 years. It's about to be 60 years by 2022. August 1st, 2022. That will be 6 decades, y'all, of giving us a character who's known for his great power, great responsibility, inspiration, relatability, flips, quips, thwips, and everything in between that you can name of. A great rogues gallery, an awesome universe in and of itself, and an already bigger universe that is Marvel, and everything else, all things good about Spider-Man. But this will be, I know, like I said, today's not Monday, but it is August 1st, International Spider-Man Day, so I really wanted to take advantage of this by recording, and I've been wanting to record the Amazing Spider-Man review ever since these masks came in the mail. Sorry. But then tomorrow, I'll be posting this today, but you will still see a Marvel review tomorrow on The Wolverine, and I'll have a third Marvel review outside of this Monday series for Black Widow, which I've been wanting to do a review on for a long time since I saw it in theaters, and I'll be ready to give y'all my review on Black Widow, what I have to say about Natalia Romanoff's story. But anyway, happy Sunday and happy International Spider-Man Day, and keep on being great and keep on being responsible.